Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the Voice of Reason. Today we're continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. Now, overnight, there has been another barrage of Russian missiles that have targeted Ukrainian infrastructure, energy infrastructure, military targets, military sites. Now, what's interesting is normally after one of these attacks, the Ukrainian military states that a number of missiles were launched and a number of Shahed drones were also launched against targets throughout the Ukraine. Now, normally speaking, the Ukrainians claim that they have shot down all of these Shahed type of drones. Now, at this point, here at MFAN, we believe that these Shahed drones are serving two purposes. The primary purpose of the Shahed drone is not to hit targets inside of Ukraine. It has that capability, and if they are not shot down, indeed they will hit a specified target. But more likely, these drones are designed as decoys. They are purpose-driven decoys designed that the Ukrainians have no other choice but to shoot them down, otherwise they'll hit a target. Now, these systems are less costly than the air defense missiles that are being used to shoot them down, much like the American MALD. This is a decoy system that the United States uses. It's actually being used by the Ukrainians. So before a Storm Shadow strike or a cruise missile strike against possible Russian targets, indeed, the ADM-160 miniature air-launched decoy will be launched in conjunction with Ukrainian inbound missiles. Now, the difference is the MALD, the miniature air-launched decoy, does not have the capability of destroying targets. So if the Russians are able to distinguish between, let's say, a Storm Shadow and a MALD, then they will probably leave the MALD alone. They will identify it as a decoy and not engage it. And they're starting to be able to do that. Now, the Shahed, they can't do that. So even if they identify it as a decoy, which that's its primary mission right now, the secondary mission is one of a kamikaze drone attack system. It packs a punch. It has explosives in the system, so it can cause damage. But unlike the MALD, where you have an option not to engage, you have to engage the Shaheds. Now look, they're relatively slow-moving systems. The Russians have added some components to these systems or some subsystems to give them more of a low observable aspect in terms of being able to avoid possible radars. But by and large, the Ukrainians are able to engage these systems with their air defense network and shoot them down. The only problem is, again, the Ukrainians in the West are expending more dollars in terms of cost versus benefit, but they don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. Now, when they engage these systems, it oftentimes allows some of the other systems, the more powerful systems that the Russians are using, such as the KH-59-69 and some of these other cruise missile type systems, the KH-101s, calibers, what have you, those are getting through and they're hitting targets. And this last attack was a perfect example of the Ukrainian energy infrastructure taking another wallop over the course of the last 24 hours as the Russians continue to degrade and destroy that facet of the Ukrainian industry. And that will continue. Now, what's concerning the Ukrainians isn't really what's happening now. Obviously, there's no need for heat. Obviously, it's not cold in the Ukraine right now. But in a few months, when summer leaves and we start to see the onset of fall and then winter, the Ukrainians could be without a energy infrastructure that will provide heat to many of the cities throughout Ukraine. And that's a big concern, obviously, for the Ukrainians. And right now they're actually looking at various ways to provide alternative energy resources to different cities in the Ukraine, such as solar and what have you, because again, the Russians are taking down this energy infrastructure. And we will continue to see these missile strikes. And again, not only missile strikes against energy infrastructure, but again, supply depots, command nodes, staging areas for troops and military resources are being hit continuously. It is this war of attrition that will continue. Now, again, I just wanted to do a quick video about we continue to hear about the Shahed drones being used. They seem to be always shot down. But again, that is their mission. It is a decoy system with an alternative strike mission, just like the MALD, the miniature air-launched decoy that the Ukrainians are also using. Now, look, the Ukrainians aren't using as many of them as the Shahed drones and the Russian variant of the Shahed that are currently being used. So that's what we have for today. We wanted to cover this quick topic, have a discussion about it. I know it was something that was asking questions, why are the Russians continuing to use the Shahed when they are shot down day in and day out? Well, there you have the answer. It is primarily a decoy system with a secondary strike system that you have to engage because it will still destroy a ground target if it gets through. As always, thank you for joining us. More to come very, very soon. Have a good day.